low vision or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Jim Michaely, and for the next hour I'll be reading from the July 14th, 2026 edition of Buffalo Business First on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. First off, let's take a look at the cover story, which is titled Taking Off. With the summer travel season underway, Buffalo's airport has a new leader and business class traffic is rebounding. Here's what it all means. In 2025, the Buffalo-Niagara International Airport recorded its busiest summer ever, and this summer is shaping up to follow suit. That's good news for Western New York, because airports move more than just planes. They drive tourism and business-related travel. They're major employers, and they generate commercial business and investments. We took a look at Buffalo's airport with that in mind. We found an uptick in business class seats, a local new aviation leader, the top destinations for this summer's travelers, and more. It's been 6 years since the pandemic all but killed business travel in the United States. And, finally, it appears flying for work has rebounded across the country. That's certainly the case at Buffalo-Niagara International Airport, where airlines have completed or scheduled 6,405 more business class seats in the May 1st through August 31st stretch this year versus the same period in 2019. That growth, 61,376 seats this year compared to 54,971, works out to an increase of 11.7%. Pascal Cohen, Senior Marketing Manager and Aviation Business Development for the Buffalo-Niagara Frontier International Airport, said that that's due to airlines flying larger planes that offer more business class seats. With the reduction of some of the smaller 50-seat regional jets, which don't have a premium cabin, being replaced with some 70-plus seat regional jets and some larger mainline aircraft which do have premium cabins, we see a shift in the number of premium cabin seats being offered, he said. This is not just a BUF schedule phenomenon, as airlines are focusing more on their premium cabin products. That's where the industry is doing well, especially in this post-COVID-19 period. Nationally, domestic carriers have about 27.6 million business class seats on flights scheduled through the end of August, which is an increase of about 7 million seats from 2019. Business class seats now make up about 7.5% of all domestic seats in the May to August timeframe, up from under just 6% 6 years ago, according to an analysis of domestic flight data from Cirium, an aviation analytics provider. In Buffalo, Cohen said, business class seats make up 6% of all seats, up from 5% in 2019. There are only about 14 routes from Buffalo that offered business class seats in both 2026 and 2019. Of those, the flight between Buffalo and Newark Liberty International Airport saw the biggest increase in business class seats, a 292% increase from about 1,000 seats in 2019 to nearly 4,000 in 2026. Other notable increases include flights to Ronald Reagan International Airport and Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. The renewed emphasis on business travelers comes despite a continued lag in the number of U.S. flights in the May to August span, a sign that U.S. airlines aim to max out revenue per flyer with more premium business class passengers while keeping operating expenses in check. Those moves have corresponded with stubborn inflation, driven in recent months by high oil prices and related energy disruptions since the onset of the U.S. war with Iran. Nationally, airlines have 3% fewer flights scheduled this summer compared to 2019, according to Cirium. Buffalo has even fewer, Cirium data shows, with the number of flights originating here 6% lower than summer 2019. That's a drop of about 600 flights, or about 5 fewer per day. And a related story, where are BUF flyers headed this summer? August is set to be the busiest month for Buffalo's airport, as travelers plan vacations before school starts. Buffalo-Niagara International Airport is scheduled to have 2,501 departing flights, with 303,225 seats, and the inbound numbers are about the same, according to Pascal Cohen, Senior Marketing Manager and Aviation Business Development for the airport. While the number of flights is slightly down compared to August 2019, Cohen said, the number of seats is up due to an increase in larger planes. Compared to 2019, this August will be up 10.7% in outbound scheduled seats, Cohen said. August 2019 had 274,023 scheduled departing seats, so we've recovered really well from pre-pandemic levels. Cohen said that 2025 numbers show the top 5 destinations for Buffalo travelers between June and August are New York City, Orlando, Atlanta, Tampa, and Boston. Some routes have doubled the number of seats they offer since 2019, like Frontier Airlines' flight to Atlanta. Cohen said that was due to Frontier flying more connections via Atlanta. Also, Southwest Airlines' flight to Denver and American Airlines' flight to Dallas have both nearly doubled since 2019. Southwest began regular service to Denver in June of 2019, and now it runs daily flights. In 2025, it had a total of 340, Cohen said. In 2019, the American flight to Dallas had 364 scheduled flights, but by 2025, that had increased to 538, which represents the highest level that route has seen in at least the last 20 years, Cohen said. For American's DFW service, that has been doing really well since they re-entered that route in December 2018, after a decade hiatus, Cohen said. On page 2 of the publication, here's the Data and Details column, and it's talking about June's restaurant openings. It says June restaurant openings brought 18 new ventures and 130 plus new jobs. 18 restaurants or bars opened in Western New York over the course of June, bringing with them more than 130 new jobs combined. June's openings include Blumfroyo Smoothie and Tea, which opened June 6th at 3500 Main Street in Buffalo. David Vu's Bubble Tea Cafe also offers frozen yogurt cups and smoothies. Coffee Holiday opened at 7296 Schultz Road in Wheatfield, where Kissel Country Tin closed in 2024. Michael Ostalski and his wife Dawn are operating the specialty coffee bar. Everberry opened inside the Brisbane building at 403 Main Street, Buffalo, offering health-conscious Akal bowls and smoothies. Olcott Tavern and Steakhouse opened at 5855 East Main Street in Olcott, formerly home to Covey's Bar and Grill. The business is owned by Bluefin Restaurants, LLC. Millie's Homemade Ice Cream opened June 18th at 1624 Niagara Falls Boulevard at the Boulevard, where the national chain is leasing space. Alan Smith is the franchisee. Belady Coffee House opened at 1185 Sweet Home Road in Amherst, where it operates from 3,000 square feet of leased space at the station Buffalo. The Yemeni Coffee Cafe comes from Najim A.J. Al-Wasim, his cousin Rashid Al-Wasim, and brothers Dr. Youssef Al-Horabi and Ammar Al-Horabi. The Falafel House Bakery and Grill opened at 112 Franklin Street /60 Niagara Street, Buffalo, previously home to The Grotto. Falafel House Bakery also has a site at 1150 Hurdle Avenue, which transitioned in 2025 to new owner Hasim Abdullah. 716 Craft Kitchens opened at 1516 Military Road in Buffalo, where Josh Cohen and Russell Salvatore are offering 27 ghost kitchen spots in a facility previously operated by Cloud Kitchens. Muscarel's Fine Desserts opened its second location at 19 West Main Street in the village of Lancaster, where it is taking over the 4-year-old Gabrielle's Bakery. The bakery, based at 3960 Niagara Falls Boulevard in North Tonawanda, was acquired 9 years ago by Philip Sidoriak and partner Stephen Duck. Poppy's Waterfront and Beach Bar opened at 200 Niagara Street at Niawanda Park in Tonawanda. Owner Jimmy Spano, who also operates Poppy Grande sites in Amherst and Lancaster, launched this seasonal operation in 2021 at 301 Ohio Street in Buffalo. Braised Tragically Chip opened at 5529 Walmore Road, across from Tuscarora Woodworks in Lewiston. This is a bakery, and it's owned by Dina Allen and daughter Ashlyn Allen Moynihan. Cornell Caribbean Kitchen opened at 533 Amherst Street in Buffalo, from the kitchen of the American Legion Post. Ducky's Waterfront Grill opened at Smith Boys Marina at 280 Michigan Street in North Tonawanda. Denise Cato runs the business with her brother Ricky and her business partner George Paniolakopoulos. Santa Sierra's reopened under new owners at 1329 Niagara Street in Buffalo. The 104-year-old restaurant was sold this spring to attorneys Mark Longo and Jennifer Hurley of Block Longo, LaMarca, and Brzezinski, PC, and David Capretto of Forbes Capretto Homes. Reserve Steakhouse by Chef Darian opened at 701 Seneca Street in Buffalo, where Eccles closed in May. Darian and his wife Jessica are partnering with Andrew Worrell on the venture. Wayland Brewing and Buffalo Brothers Burgers held a sneak peek in June for their joint site at 11 West Main Street in Lancaster. Wayland Brewing is owned by Brad Rowell with Karen Dujanovich, Tom Bestpitch, and P.J. Dunn. Corey Rowell runs the burger business, which also operates a food truck and a site in Hamburg. Indigo Chapel opened at 211 Lafayette in Buffalo. Built as a church in 1922, the site sold for $1.1 million in summer of 2025. Sean Burke is leasing the space as a music and arts venue. And Trattoria Partenope opened in June at 61 Lakeside Drive in Bemis Point, where Giovanni Sismondi and Andrea Lucignano bought the fish. It's their second location in a year following an opening in Ellicottville. Lackawanna Company easily beats jobs promise. A Lackawanna company that recently started production after a $77 million investment into a previously vacant building has already surpassed the 50 jobs it promised. In 2025, Decorators bought the plant at 300 Commerce Drive, where the company's flagship product, Surestone decking material, is manufactured. We're excited to say we've passed that 50 employees mark, said Reese Watson, Director of Operations. We're at 67 and we're continuing to hire. We have 16 positions open right now and are having a career fair on July 16th. The company has a couple of production lines in operation and will add more over the next couple of months. The facility will have a total of 4 production lines along with packaging lines. Decorators' mineral-based composite decking material is used for decks, docks, new builds, and renovations. Watson has been with Decorators' parent company, UFP Industries, for 21 years. He has most recently worked out of a facility in Mexico, and he relocated to Buffalo to run the new plant. The company bought 31.2 acres that sit both in Lackawanna and Buffalo. The existing 168,310 square foot building was initially a fiberboard manufacturing plant. An addition by Decorators brought the facility's total square footage to 250,000. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from Buffalo Business First on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. This story is under the entrepreneurship banner, and it's titled, "He Built His Own Business with Amazon's Help." Launched in 2025 with 12 drivers, Elevate Express employs more than 70. Luis Arias had a hard time finding a job after he graduated from college in 2018. He had graduated with a degree in information technologies, but had trouble landing a role in his field. "I applied to a ton of jobs, but no one really gave me a chance," he said. Then the owner of a delivery service partner, or DSP, for Amazon, took a chance on him that set him on the path to owning his own DSP business here in Buffalo and soon in Watertown. "I wanted to be able to give the same chance to others that a business owner gave to me, and I want to be able to create advancement opportunities for people," Arias said. He started off as a driver in the Bronx and quickly climbed the ranks as dispatcher, supervisor, and operations manager. By 2025, he knew he wanted to own his own DSP, so he worked with an Amazon business coach. Arias moved from the Bronx to Buffalo in 2025 to start his own company, Elevate Express. He launched it in July with 12 drivers and 5 routes. Now he has more than 74 employees, most of them drivers, and he covers Lewiston, Lockport, Niagara Falls, Pendleton, Sanborn, and Tonawanda. Year 2 could be even bigger for Elevate Express. Amazon is opening a delivery center in Watertown and has asked Arias' company to be the first DSP at that site. The launch date is August 20th, and he's working on building up a management team there. While Arias owns Elevate Express, the DSP contract with Amazon is exclusive, meaning his company only delivers for Amazon. He also leases Amazon trucks, and Amazon has a say in his location. Amazon's contract also controls what vendors Arias can use for insurance and for payroll, and Amazon conducts audits of the business. Arias said Amazon pays a rate per package, but if the DSP hits specific goals for safety, quality, and compliance, the company gets bonus pay. Arias said Elevate Express has been well above expectations in meeting those metrics, which has led to the company's fast growth in its first year. In the Power People column, here's an interview, and it's titled, "He's Overseen $2 billion in investment in 5 years." It's a question and answer format. For Mark Gelsey, every layoff that happens in Chautauqua County is personal. "I take each one of these right here," he said, tapping a fist to his chest. "I think of all those families, what it does to a community. He's devastating." He's seen his fair share recently. E-Solutions Furniture, formerly Bush Industries, in April announced plans to close its plant in the town of Ellicott, laying off 230 people. In September, Serta Simmons Bedding announced the closure of its Jamestown plant and the layoffs of 83 workers. As both Deputy County Executive for Economic Development and CEO of the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency, Gelsey feels those losses. But he also celebrates the county's wins, and in the last 5 years there has been plenty to celebrate. Cummins is investing $452 million into its Jamestown plant, and Wells Enterprises is nearly finished with a $425 million project to construct a new chocolate factory and ice cream plant in Dunkirk. Between 2021 and 2025, the IDA has been involved with projects that represent more than $2 billion being spent in Chautauqua County. If they all come to fruition, Gelsey said he doesn't remember a time when the county saw this much investment, since Cummins was founded more than 40 years ago. Gelsey started working on economic development in Chautauqua County about 35 years ago. As development director for the city of Dunkirk, he did a stint in the private sector from 2002 to 2009 before becoming the county's deputy director of planning and economic development. In 2016, he became Director of Economic Development for Monroe County, but he returned to take his current roles in 2018. In addition to courting development, Gelsey said he's also focused on creating shovel-ready sites, addressing the county's shortage of housing stock, and marketing the county as a place where companies will want to do business and workers will want to live. Whether the recent boom in investment will continue is difficult to predict, especially in an uncertain economy, but Gelsey said he will work to preserve the momentum. "I just get up every single day, despite what's going on out there," he said. "You just keep pushing forward, right?" And here's the brief interview with him. "Something you look for when hiring. I look for individuals that are open-minded, team players, willing to learn new skills, and flexible. Something people don't know about you. I can speak Pig Latin fluently. Your biggest goal for the next 12 months. I would really like to narrow down and identify the reuse of the former NRG power plant in Dunkirk. Next travel destination. Northern Vermont, we rent a cabin up there. Favorite hobby? Home renovation. How would you describe yourself as a boss? I'm a hands-off boss. I trust my employees. I want them to go and do their thing, and if they make their mistakes, it's a learning opportunity. So I would say I'm the opposite of a micromanager. Advice for your 25-year-old self. Don't take everything so seriously. With a magic wand, what would you change about working in Western New York? Regulations. It seems like everything is so hard, and I think the business environment could be improved through reducing red tape and bureaucracy. The most amazing part of your job? Seeing projects come to fruition, changing people's lives, seeing something that's not doing a lot or doing nothing, and seeing it transformed into something that's really beautiful. Pivotal moment in your life. Meeting my wife, Katie. We met at a bar in Buffalo 35 years ago. I asked her to marry me the next day. We eloped 28 days later. We had 3 kids in 3 years, and we have been married for 35 years. 6-month-old facility already at full production. Graham Corporation discussing expansion of 41-acre campus within the next year. 6 months after Graham Corp's new $17 million facility in Batavia began operating, it's already at full production, and the company is talking about expanding again. Graham, which makes heat exchanger systems for the U.S. Navy's submarine programs, began full production at its new $17 million defense building in January, according to Matt Conway, Operations Director for Defense. The building, for which the Navy invested $13.5 million, with Graham putting up the rest, has 3 large machining centers and 6 mechanized welding centers, Conway said. It allows us to accelerate production to meet the shipyard needs, reduce the turnaround time on products, and increase the quality, he said. Graham Corporation also spent $3 million to add a 1,000 square foot radiographic testing facility, which went into operation in May. Conway said all of Graham's large heat exchanger components have to pass 100% X-ray quality assurance examinations in that facility. This is all designed around meeting the Navy's needs for 2 Virginia-class submarines and 1 Columbia-class submarine per year, Conway said. All of this investment is to accelerate getting components to the shipyards and meet the nation's shipbuilding cadence. With a demand that's not going away, the company is discussing an expansion of its 41-acre campus within the next year, Conway said, though a timeline or a budget have not yet been determined. We do have the land, we just have to determine whether it's viable to develop that into new production facilities, he said. But we're actively looking at increasing our manufacturing footprint. The Batavia campus employs 420 and is actively hiring welders, machinists, and engineers. Graham works with many local schools and BOCES for recruitment, Conway said, and Graham offers pay as you learn opportunities. The U.S. Navy and shipyards need about 150,000 new workers in the next 10 years, so we really need to ramp up the training for new welders and machinists because the trades were forgotten for a long time, he said. In April, the plant welcomed a new general manager, William Zemdak, who took over for Alan Smith. Smith retired in February after more than 30 years at Graham. Earlier in June, the company reported a 17% increase in full-year revenue for its fiscal year 2026, which ended on March 31st. The company brought in $245.3 million, up from $209.9 million in 2025. The company's fiscal 2027 revenue guidance is between $285 million and $295 million. Ellicottville. Price tag hits $12 million for luxury villa complex. A hotel project in Ellicottville has expanded to include a high-end restaurant and event space, with its price tag increasing to $12 million. Hidden Gems Family Resorts, LLC, first proposed a $10 million landscape hotel project in January 2025 as a luxury villa complex at 7060 Route 242, with 30 units in 5 single-story buildings on a hillside overlooking Holmont Ski Resort. The hotel portion was scaled back this spring to 25 units of about 1,000 square feet apiece, each with a jacuzzi and sauna and views of the valley in Ellicottville, with a self-service wellness spa. It also includes a full-service bar, restaurant, and a 6,200 square foot event space that can accommodate small weddings and corporate retreats. The concept was tested through a prototype unit built in November 2023 by Jake Creeley, owner of Creeley Construction and R&R Management. The project initially received $680,000 in tax breaks from the Cattaraugus IDA, which approved an adjusted total of nearly $1 million at its June 23rd meeting. According to documents filed with the agency, the project will rely on local vendors and will create 9 permanent, full or part-time jobs with a payroll budget of $250,000 plus. Construction is underway, with completion expected in January and an opening by February 2027. Delaware North launches VR experience at State Park. Visitors to the American side of Niagara Falls will find 2 new attractions this summer, beginning with an interactive virtual reality experience from the operator of the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Welcome Center in Niagara Falls State Park. Delaware North's Above the Roar attraction uses VR headsets and positron motion-enhanced chairs to provide a 360-degree experience of flying over and around the U.S. side of the Niagara River, just above the rapids, and then over the American Bridal Veil and Horseshoe Falls, before gliding through the gorge and plunging into the waters below. The attraction offers 12 chairs housed behind a curtain in a room with special lighting to provide a full experience over 10 minutes, including a video just over 4 minutes long. Also new at the Welcome Center this year is a $4.4 million, 5,000 square foot educational exhibit designed by the State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation that explores the past, present, and future of Niagara Falls. The 2 attractions can be found in the $46 million, 28,000 square foot visitor center. Both are open year-round. Buffalo, Twipes hits $1.8 million in revenue and increases staff. Eco-friendly wet wipes company Twipes grew its revenue from $680,000 in 2023 to $1.1 million in 2024, and it's already reached about $1.8 million so far in 2026. Twipes launched in London in 2021 after winning a $1 million investment at the 2023 43 North Finals. Founders and CEO Al Bors and Chief Scientific Officer Ellie McIntosh moved the company to Buffalo and established its office in Seneca One downtown. Since then, the company has grown its workforce to 9 and is working to establish a local manufacturing facility. Twipes has also earned a 72% customer retention rate, with recurring buyers growing from 3,500 in 2023 to 9,000 in 2024 to 14,000 currently. And in Williamsville, fintech firm lands Ford dealer partnership. 3 years after SelectFi was founded, the company's automotive lending technology platform is now available in Ford and Lincoln dealers nationwide. SelectFi has been named the preferred vendor for the Shop by Ford Direct, which includes 4,000 dealers across the United States. Those dealers can now access SelectFi's technology, which streamlines the financing and insurance process by providing real-time financing offers and soft credit pulls, then routing deal submissions to lenders. We're really lucky to be able to work with Ford Direct and all of the dealers. It really helped us expand our footprint, said Tommy Volo, SelectFi's founder and chief operating officer. SelectFi has already hired 2 local employees to support the relationship with Ford, bringing its staff to about 17, and intends to hire more. SelectFi was present in some Ford dealerships before the partnership. When the dealers reported that the platform sped up transactions, Volo said, Ford approached SelectFi about working together. That led to a year-long pilot so SelectFi's technology could be validated for performance, security, and compliance standards. They're so rigorous on their vetting of a vendor. When you go to this preferred relationship, it's pretty difficult to get approved, Volo said. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from Buffalo Business First on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Niagara Falls, $20 million project envisions hotel as an attraction. Offerings will include celebrity steakhouse and a 2-story concert venue. Michael DeCienzo, president of Live USA Incorporated, is bringing his love of entertainment and music to life inside the new Marriott Tribute Boutique Hotel in Niagara Falls. The $20 million project at the former Howard Johnson at 472 Main Street includes a celebrity-endorsed steakhouse, Blue Steakhouse by Dan Aykroyd, and a glass-enclosed 2-story concert and events venue on the 3rd floor with seating for up to 400. It's tough to be investing in hotel rooms if you don't at the same time increase the tourist visitation by adding more attractions, DiCienzo said. People don't go to a market for a hotel room, they go for a casino or great attractions and great experiences. Niagara Falls, New York has the ability to add some great high-quality attractions. That's when it works. The DiCenzo's family's American Niagara hospitality portfolio also includes the 391-room Sheraton, home to the new Steelbound Brewery and Distillery and the Rainforest Cafe, and the 188-room Wyndham Garden, home to the newly reopened 443 Chill Restaurant. While the bulk of the project is self-funded, Live USA has received $1.5 million from Empire State Development and a $450,000 grant and $2.25 million in tax breaks and inducements from the Niagara County Industrial Development Agency. The project has morphed since it was introduced in 2024, when renderings submitted to the Niagara County Industrial Development Agency included a replica plane on the roof and giant guitars outside. But the focus remains on music and the arts, DiCenzo said. The ground floor, 3,800 square foot bar restaurant with seating for about 120 will be housed in a 20,000 square foot, 5-story addition. The project also includes a 4-season rooftop cocktail bar with a performance space and a 5th floor wellness spa with hot tubs, cold plunges, steam rooms, sauna, salt room, and massage chairs. The 78-room hotel itself also will undergo a complete renovation, which will incorporate natural features reminiscent of the gorge and water, along with immersive artistic features and music-themed artwork. The company expects to put the project out to bid soon, with completion in 2027. Sleep Startup raises $20 million. The company has recorded 85,000 virtual visits across all 50 states. A local startup that treats patients with sleep apnea recently closed a $20 million Series A fundraising round. The funding comes as Buffalo-based Agnami Sleep looks to accelerate its growth. CEO Dr. Daniel Rifkin said that the money will help scale what Agnami has already developed in terms of a national presence and to open more access to care. Founded in 2021, Agnami Sleep's sleep medicine platform has recorded over 85,000 virtual visits across all 50 states. The company offers at-home sleep test diagnosis, treatment coordination, and long-term adherence support. The $20 million Series A round, which opened in February and closed recently, brings the company's funding total to $28 million. The round was led by Catalyst Investors, a New York City growth equity firm, with participation from Blue Heron Capital, a Richmond, Virginia venture capital firm. As part of the round, Kapil Desai of Catalyst Investors is joining Agnami's board of directors. Both firms bring deep operational expertise, strategic insight, and long-term vision that align closely with our mission, Ken Rosenfeld, Agnami's COO, said. Their support validates the tremendous work our clinicians and staff have done to build a scalable, outcomes-driven platform capable of transforming access to sleep medicine nationwide. Rifkin said that Agnami streamlines traditional sleep apnea treatment steps, which he described as a fragmented brick-and-mortar process in which patients must physically go to several locations for diagnosis and care. That is one reason, he said, that sleep apnea is a massively underdiagnosed chronic disease, which affects more than 1 billion people globally. By going virtual, he said, Agnami wants to meet patients where they are. By centralizing the process, Rifkin said Agnami's virtual platform is quicker and more affordable. The funding will help the company expand its AI-enabled platform, automation and wearable technology integrations. But Rifkin said physicians are not being replaced by computers. Instead, the technology will be used to support referrals, clinical workflows, and treatment coordination. Agnami employs 27 people and has an office at 640 Ellicott Street. Here's another story about growth and development at the Buffalo Niagara International Airport. This story is titled, New Director, Big Plans for Buffalo Airport. He's a pilot, an engineer, a patent holder, and an aviation expert who has lived all over the globe, and he's now running the show at both the Buffalo and Niagara Falls airports. Story is by Katie Anderson. Johan Jearain is a pilot, an engineer, a biometrics patent holder, and an aviation expert who helped build Sri Lanka's second international airport in 2008. In January, he landed in Buffalo as the Niagara Frontier Transit Authority's new Director of Aviation for the Buffalo-Niagara International Airport and the Niagara Falls International Airport. He took over the role from Lee Weitz, who was director for 5 years before retiring in May after a 45-year career in aviation, more than 20 of them in Buffalo. One of Jay Rain's biggest goals is to shift from thinking of travelers as passengers and instead think of them as guests from a hospitality perspective. Everybody who travels through an airport has a story, whether it's good, bad, happy, or sad, Jay Rain said. Most of these large airports, you're just a number. I wanted to bring the human element into the airport operations. He takes over a time when business travel has returned to pre-pandemic levels, and Buffalo's airport recorded its busiest summer ever in 2025. From pilot to engineer, Jay Rain, who was born in Sri Lanka and is also a U.S. and Canadian citizen, moved to the U.S. in the 1980s to become a pilot. After he got his commercial pilot license, he flew corporate planes for a while, but his flying career never really took off, he said. In 1990, he joined an aerospace company in California as an engineer. While working in engineering, he published a patent for fingerprint biometrics that was used in airports around the globe. It was a technology that was ahead of its time, and it was mainly for financial transactions, Jay Rain said. Then 9/11 changed the whole course of biometrics, and we had to pivot from fingerprint to facial recognition. He and his partners in that business then set it up for acquisition, and Jay Rain had the opportunity to return to Sri Lanka. He did that in 2007. The next 13 years were spent in management and director roles at Sri Lanka's airports. He was part of the team that built the country's second international airport, which opened in 2013. Jay Rain wanted to move back to the U.S., but then pandemic hit. His wife is from Toronto, so they moved back to her hometown in 2021. He moved to the West Coast to become vice president at the Vancouver International Airport, where he spent about 5 years. Next stop, BUF. Jay Rain still wanted to get back to the United States, particularly to a mid-sized hub airport. For some reason, Buffalo appealed to me, though I had never been here, he said. The fact that both airports, Niagara Falls and Buffalo, were well rated showed me that this was probably an option I should explore more. I wanted to bring my global experience to a mid-sized hub and see what I can do to develop that from a different perspective. Jay Rain started in his current role January 13th. He worked alongside Weitz for a few months and is already developing a new 10-year strategic plan for the airports. Niagara Falls is only accommodating one airline at the moment, but I see a lot of potential for Niagara Falls, he said. I'm exploring different avenues for repositioning the airport for different business models. In Cheektowaga, several things are on his radar, such as the ongoing runway reconstruction project that is close to completion and the planned replacement of 17 of the airport's 24 passenger boarding bridges. That 10-year strategic plan also includes a revamped parking garage and expansion of the car rental area. High on the list of priorities is bringing an international flight to Buffalo's airport. And Jay Rain said he's hopeful that will happen within the next 2 or 3 years. These are difficult routes to establish, he said. It has to be based on demand, and it's a two-way demand. And there are a lot of fluctuations in the marketplace with fuel prices and all that. It'll happen. It's just a matter of time. Jay Rain said they are talking with airlines about the number of U.S. travelers flying out of Toronto for international flights and the benefits of shifting those travelers to Buffalo. The local airport is one of a few that have a curb-to-gate time, including TSA, of under 30 minutes, when the national average is over an hour. Still, he wants people to come early for that flight and engage with the airport. That's why he's coming up with ways to bring the community in, with possibilities like musicians, an art exhibit in the terminal, or food festivals. We want to have a more public-facing interaction for both airports with the community, he said. We want to be the catalyst to grow the destination. People don't fly to airports, they fly to destinations. So destination development becomes a very important part of the operation. This story is titled In Pharmacy Trends, Legal Opportunity. Barclay Damon launches industry-specific team in response to changes. The pharmacy industry has seen significant shifts over the last few years, between rampant consolidation, large retail pharmacies shuttering stores, and legislation aimed at helping patients. Those trends led Barclay Damon LLP to start a national pharmacy team in 2025, made up of about 15 attorneys. It's led by Barclay Damon partners Brad Gallagher and Linda Clark. With the amount of independent pharmacies and the issues we were seeing and clients we were dealing with, it made sense to have an industry-specific team, Gallagher said. After filing for bankruptcy in 2025, Rite Aid closed all of its stores, including about 70 in Western New York. CVS and Walgreens have also recently closed hundreds of stores nationwide. There's been a lot of pharmacy closures and a lot of pressures, particularly on retail pharmacies, Gallagher said. Unfortunately, that creates health and access issues. Whether it's rural health or cities, you see pharmacy deserts being created, even in urban areas. It's forced patients to use mail-order pharmacies, he said, which is much different from patients being able to use a local pharmacy or a pharmacist who has treated them for years. In a lot of communities, it's easier to see your pharmacist than it is to see your doctor, Gallagher said. Being able to get vaccines or a recommendation for an over-the-counter medication that might help, those care options are finally being realized by people in our government. That's why there's legislation being passed to help protect those businesses. The recent Consolidated Appropriations Act passed by Congress in February included pharmacy benefit manager reform legislation that, by 2029, will increase transparency in drug pricing and address unfair reimbursement practices and unfair contract terms from pharmacy benefit managers. The pharmacy benefit manager market has consolidated to three main companies that manage 85% of all U.S. prescriptions: CVS Caremark, Express Scripts by Evernorth, and Optum Rx, Gallagher said. Pharmacies have to contract with one of those three to be a viable business with access to patients, Gallagher said. There are more and more barriers to keep and maintain those contracts and make them viable for a business. So a lot of the issues and the reasons for the closures are the compressed margins, negative reimbursements, and unreasonable contract and audit standards. In New York, the fee-for-service program ensured pharmacies in the Medicaid network would not only recover the acquisition cost of the drug, but also a dispensing fee. That's not the case for the PBM contracts on commercial plans, Gallagher said. For a lot of prescriptions that go out the door, your local pharmacy is losing money, he said. We talk a lot about high drug prices and costs, but it's not the pharmacy doing that. A lot of times the pharmacy is losing money. Those are some things the new federal law addresses, he said. The law also defines essential pharmacies, which may be the only pharmacies in rural, suburban, or urban areas. Many of the clients Gallagher represents are independents, mom-and-pop pharmacies that have been around for generations. There can be a pharmacy in urban or suburban areas that is now considered essential, he said, and that can help with reimbursement rates and contracting to make sure those pharmacies can be sustained. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from Buffalo Business First on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Also in the healthcare realm, this story is titled Cash-Only Telehealth Carries Privacy Risks. It can make access to GLP-1 drugs easier, but providers have less oversight. More patients are choosing cash-only telehealth platforms to gain access to GLP-1 medications and peptides, but those platforms come with risks that patients may not be aware of. The compounded versions of the gut hormone medications have become more popular for weight loss, especially as name brand offerings like Ozempic can be expensive or have had supply issues, but they aren't approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. The same is true for many peptides, which are used for such things as muscle repair, skin care, and weight loss. So you can't always get them through traditional doctors or health systems, said Bridget Maloney, partner in the healthcare practice for Lippis Mathias, LLP. That means the providers who prescribe them are not necessarily overseen in the same way as those process claims through private insurance or Medicaid or Medicare. For example, they aren't required to comply with the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, the federal law that protects private patient information. HIPAA only applies to healthcare providers who submit claims for reimbursement from third-party payers, Maloney said. So everyone going online and paying cash for the GLP-1 prescription, their medical record is not protected by HIPAA, and there's not really a way to know what your telehealth provider is doing with that information. Maloney said all providers have to abide by state licensure and privacy laws, which do make provisions for the safekeeping of patient information. But patients should still be aware that sensitive information could be sold repeatedly. They're not regulated nearly to the level that HIPAA is regulated, Maloney said. The enforcement just is not as robust. The sale of patient data isn't necessarily a concern at local mom-and-pop nurse practitioner, brick-and-mortar telehealth practices, she said. It's when you get into these giant national tech companies that link up with giant national physician networks that things get crazy, she said. In those cases, there is no federal oversight, there's no insurance company compliance requirements, and often it's these corporations that are running the policies and procedures, not the clinicians. The other potential problem for patients is not having a complete medical record. Maloney said patients should always get a visit summary from cash-only telehealth platforms because they don't always send medical charts to the patient's primary care doctor. My primary care physician clients talk a lot about how their patients are obtaining health care in other places, often for GLP-1s, but notice of that is not making it back to the doctor, she said. And the medications that are being prescribed outside of their home health care ecosystem could sometimes be contraindicated, which can be dangerous for patients. This is an advertisement, this is sponsored content for Excelsior Express, orthopedic urgent care now available on Sundays. Unfortunately, injuries can happen anytime, but did you know that when your plans get derailed by a sprain, strain, or break, you can skip the hospital ER and get the right care right away at Excelsior Express? You'll get immediate attention from Excelsior's expert team of muscle, bone, and joint specialists, as well as on-site imaging, X-ray and MRI, casting and medical equipment like splints and crutches, everything you'll need all in one place for your path to recovery. Excelsior was the first orthopedic practice in Western New York to offer urgent care specifically for injuries to your muscles, bones, and joints more than 20 years ago. Today you have access to the specialized care at Excelsior's office, at their offices in Amherst, East Amherst, Niagara Falls, and Orchard Park. All are open daily from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. Excelsior's main office on Sheridan Drive in Amherst also offers express care on Saturdays from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. And because we all know that injuries don't take Sundays off, neither does the team at Excelsior Express. Excelsior is proud to announce the recent expansion of its express care hours to include Sundays from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at its Sheridan Drive office. Walk-ins are welcome, although appointments are strongly encouraged. It's easy to make an appointment. Just go to excelsiorortho.com and click on Express Care, and then schedule Excelsior Express visit. Or you can just call 716-250-9999. Get the right care right away at Excelsior Express. This is the People on the Move in Western New York column. It's talking about promotions and new hires at various local companies. And it gives a brief profile of each of the executives. In banking and finance, there's a promotion for Andrea Fine. This is at the company called Paramax, and she was named Senior Director. Paramax is pleased to announce the promotion of Andrea Fine to Senior Director. In her expanded role, Andrea will lead internal corporate services, encompassing marketing, human resources, finance, compliance, and firm operations. This broader mandate reflects the impact that she has had in strengthening our internal operations, supporting strategic growth, and bringing thoughtful leadership to critical areas of the firm. At the same firm, Paramax, Josh Fine has been promoted to Senior Director. Paramax is pleased to announce the promotion of Josh Fine to Senior Director. In his new leadership role, Josh will oversee the firm's business development efforts, with a continued focus on driving strategic growth, strengthening client and referral partner relationships, and expanding opportunities across our target markets. He will play an even greater role in shaping Paramax's business development strategy, deepening market engagement, and supporting the continued growth of the firm. In the world of banking and finance, Stephen C. Finch of the Financial Institutions, Inc. and Five Star Bank has been made a board member. Financial Institutions, Inc., parent company of Five Star Bank and Courier Capital, welcomes Steve Finch to its board of directors. Mr. Finch is principal of Avision Consulting and a former manufacturing executive with over 40 years of experience with General Motors, including 15 years as plant director overseeing operations in Tonawanda, New York, and Flint, Michigan. He brings extensive operations and strategy expertise and serves on the board of Alliant and National Fuel Gas Company. In the healthcare realm, this is a promotion, Amanda Bartz at Endeavor Health Services. Amanda Bartz, LCSW-R, has been promoted to Vice President of Clinical Operations at Endeavor Health Services. In this role, she oversees access to high-quality care, supports agency growth and innovation, and has driven initiatives to remove barriers to care. Amanda has been instrumental in expanding services, enhancing the client experience, and contributing to staff development through the agency's Leadership Development Program. She has been with Endeavor Health Services for 18 years. Also in healthcare, another promotion, Amanda Zworecki at Endeavor Health Services has been named Vice President of Operations. Amanda Zworecki, MSED, has been promoted to Vice President of Operations at Endeavor Health Services. Since joining Endeavor in 2020, she has brought more than a decade of behavioral health experiences and a strong background in quality improvement and program evaluation. In her new role, Amanda brings a data-informed approach to day-to-day operations, ensuring services, staffing, compliance, and internal processes support high-quality, person-centered care and Endeavor's strategic goals. In the upcoming events section, here's two categories where nominations are now open. The competition for Western New York's top private companies. Join the ranks of impressive companies by nominating yours for the prestigious Business First Top Private Companies list, commemorating the triumphs of Buffalo Niagara's innovative private businesses. The nomination deadline is Friday, July 31st, 2026, and entries can be made at the www.bizjournals.com/buffalo/nomination/89310. And the Women of Influence competition. Do you know a remarkable businesswoman in Western New York? Here's your opportunity to give her the recognition she deserves. Nominees should have at least 25 years in the workforce. The nomination deadline for this is Friday, August 7th, 2026, and nominations for this can be submitted through bizjournals.com/buffalo/nomination/89241. Here's a look at Buffalo Business First's Public Records Weekly Scorecard. This is a weekly and year-to-date summary of public records collected by Buffalo Business First through July 3rd of this year. Bankruptcies. The current week, there was 0. The week prior, 0. In 2026, there were 16, and in 2025, there were 10. Judgments this week, 23. The week prior, 15. The same week in 2026, 389, and 2025, 732. Liquor licenses. I'm sorry, those prior years are total year comparisons. Liquor licenses granted in the current week. This week was 15. Last week, 42. In all of 2026, there were 1,272 liquor licenses granted, and in 2025, 1,448. In the category of mechanics liens filed, the current week, 0. The week prior, 1. In 2026, there were 59 filed total, and in 2025, 67. New businesses formed. In the current week, there was 107. In the prior week, there were 131 new businesses formed. The grand total for 2026 was 3,423 new businesses, and in 2025, 3,148. Public records show that new corporations formed this week were 19. Last week, 23. The grand total of new corporations formed in 2026 was 581, and the grand total for 2025 was 658. Residential real estate transactions. The current week this year, 15. Last week, 7. Grand total number of total real estate, these are residential real estate transactions, for the year of 2026 was 2,812, and the grand total of residential real estate transactions in 2025 was 2,987. State tax liens filed. Current week, 1. Last week, 1. State tax liens filed total for the year of 2026 were 115, and state tax liens filed total in 2025 were 86. Here's a notice for a upcoming event called the Buffalo Business First Brick by Brick Awards 2026. Registration closes July 16th for this, and it says, join us in celebrating the best new builds, renovations, and restorations of the year at the Brick by Brick Awards. These exclusive awards highlight the accomplishments of Western New York's development industry. This will be held on Wednesday, July 29th, 2026 at the Admiral Room from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. To register, you would go to the website bizjournals.com/buffalo/event/172,587. You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the July 10th through July 16th, 2026 issue of Buffalo Business First. We read from Buffalo Business First every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Your reader has been Jim Michaely. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have Time Magazine. At 8 o'clock, we have the New York Times. At 9 o'clock, with our friends at Comic Story, and on YouTube, we have our comic book readings. We have an issue of Batman, Ultimate Spider-Man, Absolute Superman, some Nightwing, and a DC Marvel crossover. Stay with us. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability